Hello, sacred souls and curious wanderers. Welcome back, and if you're new here, hi. Today's video, we're jumping into another tarot exploration. I'm highly aware that these videos are not the most viewed on my account, but it's a journey that I'm venturing through, and I think tarot holds a lot of archetypes in everyday life that are beneficial to everyone. So I'm exploring these still. And today's one is juicy. It's the Lovers card, which is so often misinterpreted. People pull the Lovers and they think, oh, my soulmate is coming. And while that may be the case, it is not always. There is so much more to the Lovers than soulmate energy. So yeah. Diving in, the Lovers is very much a card of like love and duality, like the balance of masculine and feminine energies, and then also indulgence and potential as well. So we're going to discuss some signs and symbols within the card. We're going to discuss some themes and energies, what it could mean in a spread, obviously, with those themes and energies, and then at the end, I'm going to give you some journaling questions, some meditation questions, just some things to sit with, to tune into the energy of the Lovers card and maybe understand what love is to you a little bit deeper and more fully. So yeah, I have the Lovers card just here. This is what we're looking at. It's such a beautiful card. There is so much color, there is so much happening. As always, like with signs and symbols, when I pull them out, I always say to you guys, you could sit here all day picking out signs and symbols within the card. So I just pick out a few to talk through and encourage you to then go ahead and explore the signs and symbols yourself. What stands out to you? You know, did I mention it in this video? Did we discuss it? Did we not? Is there something that you want to dive into a little deeper? And I fully encourage you to do so, because signs and symbols are around us all of the time and we interpret them all day, every day. So yeah, the first thing I wanted to tap into was the nudity, the fact that they're nude, and then with that, a man and a woman. So those are the first two things that I wanted to talk about depicted here. So you have, I don't even know if I can show this on here, but I hope so, but you have a man and a woman pictured in this card. They're both nude and they're both, posture-wise, quite open. They're open to receiving, they're open to love, they're vulnerable, they're naked, they're in their most natural, truest, most vulnerable form. And so that really, really talks about this, the Lovers being this like willingness to be open, willingness to be loved, willingness to be vulnerable, to feel all that there is to feel, the heavy stuff and the light stuff and the stuff that lifts us up and the stuff that pulls us down a little. And then being a man and a woman, it's that masculine, that feminine energy that this particular archetype is for all. It's experienced by all living, breathing things. And that love is kind of the key to it all. Yeah, we'll get into more of that with the themes. But the next thing is the trees. So you've got two trees either side. You've got the tree of life next to the woman, and then you've got the tree of knowledge or wisdom next to the male figure. And as you can see, one is leafy green and the other is like these autumn fiery colors. So we're working with the elements of earth and fire, life and knowledge, nurture and desire. So there's definitely a depiction there of, again, duality. Like a lot of these cards that we talk about are speaking about some form of masculine, feminine, life and death, rebirth, and all of those types of things. So That's definitely depicted there in the trees. The balance between nurturing and creating and life, and that feminine flowing energy, that earthy energy, and this masculine drive and desire and logic, that fiery energy. We've also got the mountain in between the two, so this could depict a few different things. So it could be obviously challenges that you need to overcome in order to, meet this energy, this archetype in the middle, whether it's love or desire or passion or sensuality, sexuality, even. Those things are different. But it could mean, the challenges that need to be overcome to reach that. But it's also depictive as well of the highs meeting in the middle, the feminine strengths and the masculine strengths meeting together in the middle and creating this absolute high, this absolute climax, if you will. And then we've also got, I wanted to mention as well, around the tree behind the woman, you have the snake. We've spoken about the serpent energy, like the snake eating its tail symbol, life and death, like cycles within nature, within life. The snake can also represent the Kundalini, which is like the energy serpent that runs up our spine, that activates when we go through something profound, when we go through an awakening, if you will. It is also it represents wisdom through experience. So the snake goes through many chapters and sheds its skin and gets a new skin. So it's like this wisdom that you've gathered throughout your experience, throughout your process, throughout your life, diving into themes now and energies within the card and how it shows up in everyday life. Just stop for a second and think about all the times that you have opened yourself up to love, and what started as this beautiful roaring flame ended up being something really scary and something that hurt you. And this archetype, this card, the energy that it brings forth is an encouragement to stay open to that, no matter what you've experienced. So I myself, even still to this day, I've been working with staying open to love and all the possibilities that it brings my whole life. But I am still fearful that if I fully surrender to love, what happens if it's taken away? What happens if I get burnt again? What happens if I get hurt? I don't want to experience all of that again. But this archetype is about experiencing life fully, and that you must first love yourself to be loved by others. And should you completely love and trust yourself and your own path, then those periods where you may get burned, those periods where, this experience might be taken away, they shape you and they create space and opportunity for you to grow and evolve and change. And if I think back to my biggest heartbreaks, my biggest burns when it comes to love, without those, I have no idea who I'd be. They really woke me up in a sense. My experience and my journey with love has created this desire to be of service to myself and to others and to God, to spirit, to source, and to really embrace life fully, because I may have experienced the lowest of freaking lows when it comes to love and being loved and sharing love and having that taken away. But my God, have I experienced the highest of highs as well. And I would not take them away to take that pain away ever. And so that's definitely one of the themes here. It's radical honesty with yourself and with others, and the ability to stay open, even though there is a possibility that you will get burnt, and appreciating that period, that phase of perhaps pain and suffering, as an opportunity for growth. Yeah. Surrendering to desire, to your own sexuality and your own sensuality. There's a lot of shame these days around who we are and how we express that, and even more specifically in the way of intimacy and physical intimacy. So sexuality and sensuality are often like meshed into this one thing in the modern day and age, but they're actually two completely different things. You know, sensuality it's a feeling, it's a life force that lives within you. It's the ability to feel open and in love with yourself and life and all that there is to offer. It's this like liberating feeling. Sensuality, it's often looked at as sexuality, which is just not the case. You know, sexuality and being sexual, and you know, a woman embracing her own beauty and sensuality is often seen as sexual. She's often stereotyped as, you know, maybe slutty or fill in the blank, you know, but it's not quite the case. You know, she's feeling completely in alignment and attunement with herself and her soul and her body and her mind. Like, all things are in alignment, and it's a yummy, beautiful, scrumptious place to be. And sexuality is entirely different. It's you know, there's a pleasure there, there's a physical intimacy, there's so many of us identify differently these days, and we're into different things and we like different things, and the ability to explore that is kind of hindered by the judgment that comes with it. You know, a lot of people get shamed for exploring themselves in that way, or being too active, or being too open, or, you know, just judged. There's a lot of judgment out there, as there is with anything, but this card does encourage you to explore that part of yourself. You know, what is it that you like? What is it you desire? What makes you feel alive? What's yummy? What don't you like? What do you want to not experience again? You know, like, test those limits, push those boundaries. You're only here for so long, and this is, you know, the life that you're given, a physical human body, and you can experience all of those types of things. You can play with those types of things. So while you're here, do it. Yeah. It talks about challenges and climaxes and things to overcome. So as we spoke about before, there's obstacles in the way of us embracing ourselves, and in the way of this card, it's really speaking to, you know, finding that balance within masculine and feminine, within your own lives, within your own relationships with other people and places and jobs and all of those different things. It's also about that climax. It's about that high point. It's about what makes you feel alive in every possible way. Your mind, body, and soul. What is it that makes all of those things feel alive? It also talks about indulgence, like sexuality, sensuality, definitely a place where you can indulge. But there's also other things you can indulge in, you know. You talk about substance, you know, smoking, drinking, all of those sorts of things. It also, I think, asks you the question of, are you too indulgent? Is your indulgence hindering your potential to grow, to create, to evolve, to tap into your highest point? So yeah, it can definitely ask you, when it's brought up in a spread, are you indulging enough? Are you indulging too much? Are you in touch with both your masculine and your feminine? You know, are you grounded into the earth but tapped into your fiery desire? Are you, you know, open? Are you completely open to all of those experiences in your life? Are you open to love? Maybe you're open to loving, but you're not open to being loved. You know, it can ask you all of these things. And if it's reversed, perhaps you're too tapped into love. Perhaps you're too up in the clouds. Perhaps you're, you know, leaning on love and indulgence and sexuality and sensuality a little too much. Yeah. I think as I tapped into this card yesterday and then slept last night, I had some dreams and things as well. Love is a huge topic and it's such a sought after thing. So many people spend their lives looking for their soulmate. You know, when will I find my person? Is there somebody out there for me? Am I lovable? There's so many things, there's like processes around the topic of love. And what this card brings up. And while it may tell you that someone is around the corner, it may tell you that you need to love yourself more, that there's room for you to love yourself more, which leads me into the questions that I have written down here. So I have some on the topic of love and some on the topic of balance within those things. So with love, I have got, am I open to love, both giving and receiving? So you can journal on these questions, you can meditate on these questions, you could just sit and ponder these questions over a cup of tea. But really asking yourself, am I open to love? Am I open to giving love? And am I open to receiving love? Is there room for growth there? How can I allow myself to be open to love? How can I consciously make sure that I'm accepting the love that's given to me and giving it back tenfold? Is there more room for me to love myself? Do I, you know, treat myself the way that I treat others? You know, do I hold myself with the same kindness and sympathy and empathy as I hold others? What does love look and feel like to me? What is love in your own mind? What, you know, makes the perfect soulmate? How do you want the person who loves you to show up for you? And going on that, does love feel safe for you? Does it feel scary? Is there room for you to heal parts of yourself so that you feel safe in love and that you're able to be fully open to love and being loved and loving? And on the topic of balance, do I embody both logic and empathy equally? Are you able to hold space with empathy and with logic also, or are you too tapped into your empathic side? Are you too tapped into your logical side? And can those things be brought into balance? Am I indulging too often and is it blocking my potential? You know, are you perhaps smoking too much and that act of smoking is stopping you from tapping into, I don't know, creating something for yourself, researching something for yourself that you really want to research? You know, is it stopping you from going out and seeing people and being social and tapping into that desire within you for connection and community? Is it blocking your creative flow? You know, it really is about creation. We've got that earthy energy and that fiery energy we spoke about, and that earthy, like creative, nurturing energy, that feminine energy can often be blocked by too much indulgence. Like we get that dopamine hit, we get that serotonin hit from like smoking or a particular act of doing something, watching something, eating something, that we stop creating that for ourselves and we turn to these different things and we indulge a little too much. Am I all work and no play? Are you balanced in that? You know, we have to pay the bills, but are you creating and playing and exploring yourself and your sensuality and your sexuality and the things that light you up enough? Or are you strictly in work so that you can do those things later, which, by the way, you might not get tomorrow. So you have to make sure those things are balanced now. And what in my life requires more balance? You know, maybe it's your exercise and your movement. Maybe it's your eating patterns. Maybe it's your social life. Maybe you're too social or you're not social enough. So sitting with yourself and asking yourself what needs more balance. So yeah, that is the Lover's card. That is what I have brought forward for today's exploration video. The next one is the Chariot, which I'm super excited to go through. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed that. As always, leave your thoughts, feelings, comments, questions, suggestions in the comments, and I will get back to you. And I appreciate you being here. So have a good day, and I will see you next time.